The National Basketball Association had a major scandal to deal with when LA Clippers owner Donald Sterling's recorded comments about blacks and minorities became public. I want to address several facets of this story. First, let me address the issue of free speech. Many people, mostly conservatives, immediately began lamenting the death of free speech when sanctions against Sterling were being discussed. This is the same reaction that we witnessed when Phil Robertson of Duck Dynasty fame made his homophobic remarks several months ago. People need to understand what freedom of speech is. The First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution guarantees that the government cannot take action against you for expressing yourself using protected speech. For example, making threats or causing a dangerous situation like shouting fire in a crowded room in the absence of an actual emergency are not protected. It does not protect you from public opinion or from punishment by your employer or by a legal entity with whom you have a contractual agreement. Now, owning an NBA franchise is a privilege, and in order to have this privilege, you must agree to abide by the Constitution and bylaws of the NBA. It is quite frequent for such rules to include language which allows the organization to take disciplinary actions against an individual whose behavior is deemed to be detrimental to the organization. There is absolutely no doubt that the remarks made by Sterling posed a large threat to the image and success of the NBA. The story was national news, and the NBA was facing much pressure from both inside and outside. In the near term, they had the threat of the playoffs being overshadowed by the scandal, and players threatening to boycott if quick action was not taken. The Golden State Warriors, who were opposing the Clippers in the first round of the playoffs, even agreed to walk off the court at the start of their next game if the NBA did not act. In the long term, the NBA faced a variety of problems. First, over 80% of the players in their league are black, as is a significant portion of their fan base. In addition, sponsors were already threatening to pull funding. They stood to suffer financially by not acting. Another aspect is that most players, especially black players, would not want to play for the Clippers if Sterling remained the owner. This would completely cripple an entire NBA franchise and throw off the competitive balance of the league. The NBA simply could not allow this. Now, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver conducted an investigation which concluded that the comments on the audio tape were made by Sterling, including an admission by Sterling himself. He then imposed the maximum penalty under the NBA bylaws, including a fine and a lifetime ban from the NBA. This action was well received by most. The commissioner is also taking any actions possible to force Sterling to sell the team. Under the NBA's bylaws, this would require 75% of owners to vote in favor of this. It remains to be seen what the outcome will be, but it is very likely that he will be forced out. He has remained defiant and vows to take the NBA to court and has stated that he will not sell the team. Now, a lot of criticism centered around the fact that the comments made by Sterling were private and he should not be punished for that reason. However, again, this does not involve the government or a court of law. There aren't any rules regarding the admission of evidence. Once that audio became public, it ceased to be private and there was no going back. The NBA couldn't simply pretend like it never happened. Besides, Sterling had agreed to be recorded, so it isn't as if he was unaware that his comments might be heard by others. Sterling obviously has a history of expressing his racist opinions. A court ruled that he indeed discriminated against potential tenants seeking to rent his properties on the basis of race. Many people pointed out that he has received awards from groups like the NAACP and was set to receive another one before his comments became public. However, it has since become obvious that Sterling simply used his vast wealth to pay off anyone who would blow the whistle on his racism. His donations to minority groups can now be seen for what they were: hush money. If you doubt this, simply listen to Sterling's comments from an interview with Du Jour magazine in the aftermath of the scandal. "I wish I had just paid her off," referring to V. Stiviano, the woman to whom Sterling was talking when making his comments, and who almost certainly leaked the tape. Sterling is simply the poster boy for racism in the United States. A wealthy white man who discriminates against minorities and simply pays people to keep their mouths shut about it. He is a throwback to an America where only white male landowners could vote and run the show. He is truly despicable and deserves everything that is coming his way. Unfortunately, one thing likely coming his way is about $500 million when the team is sold. The main point that I want to make here is that constitutional rights only apply to how the government treats you. The fact that people think that Sterling is having his free speech stifled or his due process infringed upon only proves how ignorant many people are to the laws of our country. While you are free to say whatever you want, society doesn't have to sit back and let you get away with hatred and bigotry. Companies have every right to protect themselves and their image by taking action against those within their ranks who express racist, homophobic, or otherwise unpopular opinions.
I am Prototype Atheist. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with anyone else you think would be interested, and subscribe to my channel for future updates. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/prototypeatheist and on Twitter at protoatheist.